Okay, so I want to make a video about hermit mode. Hermit mode, I heard this term like a year and a half ago. Somebody, like, I heard it on TikTok where people were talking about how they would go into hermit mode, and whether it was spend 2 weeks alone, 2 months alone, 2 years alone, they basically went into spending time alone and getting to know themselves and then kind of working on themselves. I've done that for the past 2 years. I would say I went in hermit mode for the past year. So for this last year, I basically went into hermit mode and got so hyper focused on getting my diet right, getting myself in physical shape, and doing all that because 2 years ago, I focused that entire year getting my mind right and getting my mental health in shape. Because when I went through the breakup 2 years ago, it was the most shattering thing I've gone through because I haven't been single since I was like 15. So, and honestly, I think it was almost like 2.5 years ago, because I was 27 at the time and I'm 30 now. So it was like 2.5 years ago now. But it was a shattering experience for me because it was the first time I've slept alone since I was like 15. So, and it's not that I didn't have the same girl that whole time. Like, I've had a few different girls, but I was rarely ever single. The times that I was single was like for a week or a month at max type shit, but I wasn't ever really single for that long. Now, I ended up shattering, but I didn't go to see my mother for the first 3 months of me being single. I sat alone. For the first 2 weeks of me being single, I didn't even see my daughter because I told the mother of my daughter I just need like a break, and she understood. So, like, because I get my daughter every weekend. So that first shattering experience of being broken up, I was able to sit actually alone for 2 weeks. Um, and for the first week and a half, I spent it entirely alone. Um, after in the second week, my friend Eric started coming over once in a while and just started hanging out and like smoking, chilling, vibing. Um, and like sometimes I would ask him to come over. Other times he would come over because he just knew I probably needed someone to chill with or whatever. But that went on for about a year. Okay, so like a year of, the first 3 months I didn't even see my mom, and like the first 2 weeks I didn't even see my daughter. So 2 weeks I was actually alone. Then after the 2 weeks I would get my daughter every other weekend, but during the weekdays I would be working on getting myself in mentally healthy. I then started working at KFC. I then I just started working on myself. I wasn't doing, I was doing Hawaiian baby woodrow seeds for that first 3 months of me being single because I like Hawaiian baby woodrow seeds. I think they're a little more spiritual. Um, and like, it was just this, I needed this spiritual thing. So that's what I did. I would go on these journeys with Hawaiian baby woodrow seeds. And I would sometimes 10 seeds, sometimes 15 seeds. But like, I would go on these journeys to work on myself because I was trying to figure out what went wrong because the girl did, it's not like she explained to me why she was leaving, yada, yada, yada. So it was just a shock. So the psychedelic spiritual experience was able to help me deal with the shock by, like, giving me some more things because you have visions while you're on Hawaiian baby woodrow seeds or like LSA. If you just close your eyes and you can keep yourself awake, you will have psychedelic visions and travel into the psychedelic world, and there's a whole thing to it. Um so it was very, it's like I would say Hawaiian baby widow seeds is like an ayahuasca replacement. A lot of people think it's like an LSD replacement because it contains LSA, but I think it's more like an ayahuasca replacement because it's more in that category of experience. Um, but so I used that for the first 3 months, and then I started using LSD again once in a while, And I started working on my mind while I was on it. I started doing mantras. I started doing while I was on the LSD, I would work on just mantras. I would meditate for hours doing mantras while on the LSD. Sometimes I took the LSD and the Hawaiian baby woodrow seeds together, and like I had a different type of experience. I had an experience once. I made a trip report about it. How like during that trip, I started crying so hard, I just cried for hours, and then I got so mad that I was crying so hard that I just screamed at the top of my lungs for like a couple of minutes, just screaming to the point where my throat was hurting when I was done. Um, but it was such a beautiful release. Like around that time, I also went down to the river and just screamed, right? Like just screamed. Um, I was just doing a bunch of different shamanic things and a bunch of different things to help heal myself and to help me get through this thing. At the time, I started making music because like I like to make beats, like instrumental music. Excuse me. I like to make instrumental music when I'm sad or even when I'm happy or whatever. So I started making these instrumental like music songs that are basically going to be my second album. But at the time, it wasn't for an album. It was to keep me, I guess I'll say it, to keep me alive, basically. Because before that moment, before the breakup, I was already dealing with like depression, anxiety. I was self harming, so I had a bunch of scars on my thighs. And I debated the whole time of me shattering after the breakup of like whether I should self harm or not, whether I should cut myself or not. I was alone, so I was debating on a lot of crazy shit, which is why I forced myself to just use the Hawaiian baby woodrow seeds, which is why I forced myself to start just facing it during the trips, because I would then think about it during the trips and face it and then shatter and then cry and then scream and then whatever. And then and during these times, and people are probably gonna laugh, but like I started listening to Andrew Tate, just watching a little bit of his content here or there, or whatever, and it just helped me, get a little pump in, a little bit of whatever, because I was so fucking sad and depressed and alone that like I was just a little fucked up. Then I started watching like anime with my daughter and whatever. So then I started watching like Dragon Ball Z again, which then got me into working out. And then I would watch Andrew Tate, which then got me back into working out and thinking that I should get in shape. Because why not? Like, why not? What else is there to, like, I was alone. Like, what else is there to do? So then I would watch, like, Dragon Ball or like, watch little episodes of One Piece or whatever and work out. And that's what started me working out again. Because before the breakup, I was already doing 50 push ups once in a while. I was already doing like a little bit of weight work, but not really nothing. And I wasn't taking it serious. So I wouldn't be in the shape I'm in now if I was doing what I was doing back in the day. I was kind of in shape because like, I had a little bit of whatever cuz I did some push-ups, but like I wasn't actually in shape. But after the breakup, when I started, it just like it forced me to then look at myself. And then it forced me to think to myself, I might as well work out because what else is there to do? Like I started working at KFC because I was like, I might as well work at KFC because what else is there to do? I might as well make some music. What else is there to do? I might as well work on my mind and meditation and mantras because what else is there to do? Like if I'm tripping alone, what else is there to do besides work on yourself? So I started working on my mindset, putting my mindset back together, fixing myself, and the mental part and the meditation, the mantras, the healing my mental health, making sure I never self harm again, making sure I figure out healthy ways to get out my pain, and like making sad songs, putting my sadness into the music, putting my started working out, putting my sadness into the workouts. Like I don't know how to explain it, but when you're sad or upset or angry, and you just work out. By the end of the workout, you're not going to be angry anymore. I don't know how to explain it, but I just started doing all these things because it was helping me heal. Like that was my grieving process. Doing the Hawaiian baby woodrose seeds, then doing some LSD. But then while I was on the LSD, I started working out while I was just on the LSD. Like I started doing all these different practices while I was just on the L, or while it was even on a light dose of Hawaiian baby woodrose seeds. Maybe I'll just take three. So then my stomach's not as nauseous. And then I could just start working out or start like I don't know how to explain it. I started doing I don't know why, but I did push-ups once while I was on LSD. And I was like, "Holy fuck." I did 50 push-ups and it felt like I did 20. I did 75 push-ups. It felt like I did 30. I did 100 push-ups and it felt like I did 50. I was like, what the hell? Like, what I mean is, I felt like I could just keep going and keep going and keep going. So then I started working out. Like, I started mixing up my trips, half meditation, half working on mantras, changing my mindset, working on myself, figuring out me, learning how to just be in the silence. I started dealing with some shit while I was tripping, but like what other people would consider bad trips, but they were bad because I was forcing it to be that way, because I wanted to force myself to look at myself. Obviously, the woman left for a reason. Obviously, I have been poor for a reason. Obviously, their problem was probably me, but I kept trying to blame my childhood, or blame it's her fault for leaving, or blame it's that person for not having my back, it's that person for not helping me, it's that person for not whatever. And the trips that people would consider bad were the trips where I was forcing myself to look at me, and forcing myself to say, if I don't like what I see, I can change it. So like, I started working on my mindset, working on and then once I felt like I got my mind under control, where like I was like, I healed my mental health issues, because I was no longer like, the whole time I've been working on this shamanically, like through my shaman, like my modern day shaman journey. The whole time I've been using like psychedelics for like the past 10 years, but it was that breakup that made everything serious. That made everything feel like I had no more time to fuck around, and no more time to slightly work out, no more time to trip, and only sometimes, I'm gonna work on myself while I trip, on, or only sometimes I'm gonna whatever. Instead, I was forced to be like, no, enough is enough. Like I got sick and tired of myself, of my own bullshit, of my own excuses, of just all this shit. So I was like, no, I need to just spend time alone and work on myself. And I will come back out of hermit mode when I am done working on myself. So like, even in that first year, like, because I was just working on my mind or whatever, like I was even hopping in like True Life Stories live streams, and like, just hopping in a few other of my homies live streams, and just doing my own live streams, and just hanging out with my friends still, and doing all this still. But then this last year, I basically stopped hanging out with friends, stopped joining live streams, stopped doing my own live streams, and I focused fully on just my diet, my relationship with my daughter and my mother, and the relationship with myself, the self love thing, the and getting in physical shape. Because I just turned 30 this past Christmas, and now I'm 30. So I like a year ago, I was 29, and when I just turned 29, I was like, I want to go into my 30s in the best shape I've ever been in. It's like the breakup woke me up to realize that I can become whoever I want to be. That if I want to be in shape, I can. If in the same way I just got in shape, or the same way I healed my mental health, if I applied my mind to fixing my financial health in that way, I know that I can fix my financial health as well. Right? Like, I know if I changed bad habits into good habits, I can do that financially as well. I can, like, it's this thing where I realized the problem was me. It's always been me. The problem in my life was me. But I'm also the solution in my life is also me. So the problem in my life is me and the solution in my life is me. But the only way you can get to the solution is by truly looking at yourself and understanding that you're going to have to put the work in to change yourself or to change your life situation or to whatever. So, because of that, this past 2 years, I basically spent it alone. This next year, 2024, I'm going to start hanging out with friends more. I'm gonna start like trying to get out of hermit mode, and it is hard because once you go into hermit mode, it's very easy to fucking just love the solitude. Like once you can spend time alone but never feel lonely, you will truly like just enjoy solitude. Because I spend most of my time alone, but I never feel lonely. Because the first year of me being alone, I was forced to look at myself. I was forced to cry myself to sleep alone. I was forced to wake up and then be alone. I was forced to do these things, which then it helped me start to figure myself out, which then 2 years after that, now I'm able to be alone and never feel lonely. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just because I got to know myself, I got to love myself, I got to figure myself out. Because, like, part of self love is figuring yourself out, figuring out what do you love to do? Like, what makes you feel alive? What, like, do more of that more often. That's the thing. Because now, like, I enjoy working out. I enjoy the process of working out more than I enjoy whatever the fuck I'm gonna look like in the end. Like, I enjoy the process. I enjoy the process of doing what I'm doing in life, anyways. I don't care about the end result. I love making videos. It doesn't matter if it only gets 100 views or if it gets 100,000 views. It's the same to me because I enjoy the process more than I enjoy the views. Like, that's the thing. I began to figure out how to enjoy the process of healing. Because the reason why I say I'm mentally healed is because I now am on the healing process for the rest of my life, just like I'm on the working out process for the rest of my life. I understand that I'll have to work out for the rest of my life if I'm going to stay in shape. If I stop working out, my body will start to slightly get out of shape over time. If I stop working on my mind will eventually get out of shape over time. If you fix your financial health and you make a bunch of money, if you stop doing what you did to make the money, you're going to stop making money and then you're going to get out of financial health eventually. Like, that's what I realized, that everything in life requires constant maintenance. It's constant maintenance to get to be in spiritual health. You can't just, if you're like, oh, I did psychedelics back in the day, well, the benefits might not last if you don't constantly check in with yourself to make sure that you are still yourself. And like to always realize that you can always work on yourself. And that's, and it's like you can always take time to just do like what I just did. You always can take a year or two to say, I'm not going to spend time with friends anymore. I'm not going to go out to the bar anymore. I'm not going to spend extra money on dumb shit anymore. I'm not going to do any of that anymore. I'm going to start trying to create better habits for myself. I'm going to start trying to work on myself and start working out this year. And then once I start seeing some of the results from what I've been doing, then I will start hanging out with people again. Then I will start going out to the bar again. Then, like, that's what I mean. It's not that I'm not going to cut friends off forever. I'm not cutting all that out forever. It's that I needed to do this. I needed to build myself into who I am today before I start just going to hang out. Like, because I was falling apart. So I had to put myself back together and then I can go do things. But that's what I meant by like I put myself in hermit mode because I spent time like about 2 years of basically being alone and then the last year of actually being alone and like I only seen my friend Eric like 5 times last year. Probably like 5 or 6 times last year. And then like obviously I see my daughter every weekend, and like my mother maybe like sometimes every other weekend or like once a month. But it's that thing that for the most part I spent it alone working on myself. And if I wasn't working on myself, I was working on the connection that I have with my daughter, or I was working on the connection that me, my mother, and my daughter have like with each other. Um, just this family thing, building this family thing while I'm building myself back up, while I'm working on all this other stuff, because I thought that was more important. This year, I'm going to be working on my financial and just my friend, just hanging out with my friends more often, doing a little bit of that because I now have built this thing with myself, with my routine of working out. Like I'll be doing that for the rest of my life because it's just part of my life now. So like I'll be like the Hawaiian baby woodrow seeds, or using psychedelics spiritually, or using plants and herbs spiritually. I'll be doing all this for the rest of my life because I've been doing like I started applying new routines to my life 10 years ago. I started using the plants 10 years ago. I started like all of these like started working out really like 6 years ago, but I started taking it serious 2 years ago. So 2 years of being serious with it, it just became part of life. Uh, it's there are things that I no longer need to think about. So then I could just start thinking about other things that I do need to think about, other things that I do need to work on still in my life and in myself. But because I worked on my mental health first, it's like I'm not hard on myself. So it's like, oh, I still have things I need to work on myself. That's fine. Because I love myself today. Like I love who I am now, but I know I can always become a better version of myself. So I'm growing, but I still love myself. It's not like I'm trying to reach like, oh, I'll love myself when I'm that version. No, no, no. I loved myself when I was that like gangster thug dude that was trying to become a better person, because I loved the fact that I was trying. It wasn't working at the time, but at least I was trying. And now the results are starting to work. So now I'm like, well, I'm glad I just kept trying. Kept trying to work on myself. Kept trying to better myself. I kept trying. And now I'm trying to better my life, because I say this all the time. There is a difference between bettering yourself and bettering your life. And most people better their life first, and then they forget about themselves. So that's why I wanted to better myself first, because I know I'm not going to forget about my life, because it's going to be there. But now I'm a better version of myself, so I feel like I can handle it better, like life in general, or the fact that I'm still at the bottom, but I could start to climb my way up. The fact that I still have financial issues, but I could work on that. The fact that, like it's one of those things. So I'm gonna take like the next 2 years to work on those things, like I took the last 2 years to work on my mental health and my physical health, and yeah, and maybe I'm gonna go into some type of hermit mode, but it's a different type of hermit mode, and like slowly I'm getting out of hermit mode, and within the next 5 years, like within the next like 3 years, I should be out of hermit mode, like meaning fully being able to just hang out with friends. I built connections. I do this, I do that. I go places, but I also have my finances right, and I got my mind right, and my physical health right, and the relationship with my daughter is right. Like that's really my. It's just my goal. And I'm saying all this because the new year is coming. The reason why I'm able to do all this is because I made a 10-year plan for myself when I was 25. And I made it so I could add new plans to that plan, and it's an adaptable plan because the plan really is just to become the best version of me. But that's a very complicated thing because that means so much. So that's why I take it one step at a time. But there's so much I'm doing in the middle of this. And when I went through the breakup, I thought it would alter my 10-year plan. Like I thought it would fuck me up, put me behind. But really, it put me ahead because it forced me to start doing things a little more faster or a little more seriously, and it forced me to stop doing the habits that was fucking shit up, start adding new habits, force myself to look at myself and see who I am and why am I that way, and do I have to be that way forever. So like, yeah, now I'm just on this journey working on myself and like, yeah, slowly getting out of hermit mode.